Can you imagine trying to build a personal brand online while using a giraffe as your profile picture? Well, that is exactly what our guest today, Christel, is doing, and she's going to explain why. Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. If you haven't already listened to episode 552, I highly recommend you do that before listening to this episode, because in that episode, we explain a lot of the tech and things that go into play here. Of course, we have Gary Club, Giraffe Towers NFT, social connector software, and a lot of moving parts. So if you have no clue what those things are, I highly recommend you listen to that episode first and then listen to this. And this episode is going to be beneficial to anyone that is building a brand online using any kind of social media platform. This is not limited to just a personal brand. If you are marketing your business in whatever fashion using social media, this will be beneficial to you. So Christel, thank you for coming on. I absolutely love what you're doing. I met you through Giraffe Towers, and Gary was on the show, and now it's great to have you on the show to really explain what you're doing in this space and why you found value in Web3. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's exciting to be here. I'm still pretty new in the Web3 world, but I think that's the best time to learn something and teach it too. So yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk about my experience in Web3 so far, where I see it going, and specifically the giraffe.
The giraffes are very active. One of the most active communities through the bear market. And everywhere I look, there's giraffes holding spaces, putting out content. And it's just really amazing what's being built here as far as just creators in general, and how despite all of the people maybe exiting and changing back to their regular pictures and all this stuff, giraffes are still around. So that's awesome to see.
I mean, what attracted me to the giraffes is that they are what I see as a real active, thriving community. I didn't know anything about what a PFP was. Even when I joined, I didn't know that it meant something, like really meant something. And I learned the hard way, because in the beginning I was like playing around with my picture sometimes, and then I'd put the giraffe up, and I learned this is a big deal. It's really an identity thing. You know, it's your brand. It's saying I'm part of this community. And so the more I learned about Web3 and the more I learned about being a part of a Web3 community and what that PFP meant, I now appreciate it so much more, because it's like a symbol to me of saying, I really believe in this project. I believe in what we're building as a community, and I take pride in the ownership that I have. I own this piece of artwork. I own this NFT. It's mine, and I'm choosing to wear it as my brand. This is a part of Web3, right? Finding an avatar or something like that to represent you in your brand. So it's not a weird thing in the Web3 world to have an animal, as my profile pic. So yeah, all these things that I'm learning, but definitely the tie to community and what that really means, especially as a creator and a growing creator, is where a lot of the value comes in for me.
We don't come from necessarily being devs, right? We are in Web3. And as far as I know from what I just drew, that you are not necessarily the one that's building out blockchains and all those amazing things. So how did you end up into Web3? What's your background?
Oh my goodness. How did I get here? Well, my background is teaching and education. In 2007, I started teaching in Washington, D.C., and I did that for 10 years. I was a teacher. I was a coach, a teacher coach. Like, I coached other teachers, and then I was an administrator. And after 10 years, I left and decided to be a consultant. So start working for myself. And that's really what got me into learning about social media as a creator more than a consumer, because now I'm working for myself. So I'm marketing, I'm, using Canva to design and all of that. And then in 2020, COVID hit, and I started becoming really interested in building online communities. I've always been fascinated by community building, but in the context of schools. That's really where a lot of my background came in. And even in the consulting work I was doing, it was helping schools have a thriving, healthy community and culture for the schools. So I became very interested in online communities and virtual communities and came across Clubhouse in 2021. And that's actually where I first heard Gary speak. And he wrote the book, The Clubhouse Creator. So I started learning about building community as a creator, using live social audio as a way to build community and grow as a creator. And so and even at the time in 2021, I heard about NFTs and I heard Gary talking about Gary Club and Giraffe Tower, but it was so foreign to me. I remember the gas fees for ETH were so high that I was like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what I'm doing. So fast forward 2 years later, I see the growth, and he's still talking about, community, and now it makes a lot more sense. He's on Solana. So it's a lot more accessible for me to get this giraffe, which means to me at the time in June, it just means lifetime membership. And I just have to pay one time. And as long as I don't sell it, I get lifetime membership. I think that's amazing. The onboarding for me was very smooth. And that's why I'm here. This particular community and project has figured out a way with the technology and with the people to make it easy for normies, like me to join.
Of course, everyone should know that Gary came from Clubhouse, but one of the jokes on the podcast is when I first saw NFT rooms on Clubhouse, I thought it was somehow related to not safe for work or one of those acronyms. So, and we all know that after dark on Clubhouse back in the day, it like anything went. So I avoided, yeah, I
Anything.
avoided all of those rooms, and I just missed out on like the Bored Ape hype when they're hopping from room to room. And a lot of people don't know, like
Yeah,
they really minted out and became popular because of Clubhouse. So that's the running joke
that's what
that
Gary said. Yeah.
it almost missed me because I was avoiding those rooms thinking the acronym is something else. So once you came in now, you got your giraffe. When did it start to click that, okay, this is how I could use it to start to build a brand? Because obviously you said that you came from the teacher background and you had all of these different aspects that you're working with. Like, how did you start to glue it together now with using your PFP?
Gary Club, the community, the access to this network of other creators came at a moment where I didn't even realize how much I was going to need this, because I had been building on Clubhouse for a couple years. I built an entire brand there, built a couple of communities on Clubhouse. The first community was focused on education and wellness. And then ChatGPT came out and I went all into AI, and some of that community wasn't interested in AI. So I built a whole second community, for my love of AI. And then when around June, July, a huge transition was starting to happen on Clubhouse. And what I didn't know is that Clubhouse was about to drastically change their technology and come out and publicly, openly say, we're not a platform for creators to grow their audience and build on. And said, if you want to do that, go to LinkedIn, go to Twitter, X, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I relate it to being like in a relationship with someone and they're like, we can still be together, but you just can't live here. Like kind of if you could go live somewhere else and like just visit maybe on the weekend. And I'm like, no. I had been creating there and building for years. I mean, 5 days a week I was on Clubhouse, teaching free live classes, and I had about 250 people in the audience, which for me was great. I was making great money, and then they changed the technology, and it was like I was lucky if I could get 10, 15 people in the room, and it was the same people. So I wasn't growing any new audience because they changed the platform so that it was more for friends to hang out in live audio spaces. And I made great friends, but that's, not what my main objective was on Clubhouse. So then it was like Gary Club and this community became my life support as I had to transition as a full-time creator from Clubhouse to X, where I didn't know. I had like 37 followers in August. Barely knew what a thread was or how to create one. It just wasn't the type of content that I had created. So it was like learning an entire new platform, how to do live audio spaces on X, which is a very different culture than Clubhouse. So I had to learn a lot of the nuance. And then Web3 on top of that, which has its own culture. Having that Giraffe PFP really represents a lot of things for me. It represents this is the community that I'm a part of, that I believe in, and I believe in what we're building together. It's also this way to show my gratitude and loyalty for having a way to transition at a time where if I didn't have this community, I would have had to probably go back to full-time work, which isn't the worst thing in the world. And, if that ever needs to happen, it needs to happen. But I wouldn't have been able to do what I'm doing now and have the support, the guidance as a creator. That's what it feels like to me. It's like I was getting that life preserver, whatever it's called, before I even knew that I needed it. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, I need this. Thank goodness I have this community and this coach, and teacher. I mean, Gary went from being a top creator on Clubhouse, and now he also had to make the transition. So he's doing it on X, and I'm watching him and learning from him, and doing it in Web3 is really nice because I find Web3 to be a very supportive community. I mean, here we are. I'm on your podcast, and because we're connected in Web3 and Gary Club community as well.
One of the things that I've really noticed over the years, especially coming from the days when everyone is building their businesses online using Facebook, and even before that, Google and Google searches, that once those algorithms hit or once the platform changes, it's like you are just beholden to that platform. And I think that's one of the great value propositions that Web3 offers. We often speak about owning your own identity, owning your assets, and owning your information and your audience and all of that. But I don't think the majority of people, even though they might be repeating this stuff in spaces, actually truly knows what that means until you're in a situation like you were in, where you have your audience, you have your platform, and then that just rug pulled away from you, if you will. It's like these big companies are literally rug pulling small businesses. They used to call it the Google slap, right? And then through the years, every single platform, all of us has had to pivot. So I think it's just awesome that you have landed here in Web3 and the solutions that are being provided. But at the same time, too, it's not just forgetting everything that worked in the olden days, if you will. I say olden days as if like I'm talking about pre-electricity, right?
It feels like that sometimes. Like,
and bringing it in. So I think that is just absolutely awesome as to where you're going. And I have to say, you're doing a great job with spaces and everything.
oh, thank you.
I think you kind of touched this earlier, but the vast majority of creators that were in the space, once they get their audience, they ditch their profile picture, they ditch their Web3 branding, and they start talking about random things to just grow the audience. So why is it that you still see benefit within this community? I feel like once the bear market hit and everyone shifted their interest to AI, which is also the other area that you're in, they all jumped from Web3 and dropped anything related to NFTs.
As much as it's important for me to know how to be a community leader and builder, also one of the biggest values of being in Gary Club is that I'm learning how to be a great member, and I'm learning how to be the kind of member that I want to have in any community that I'm a part of. Gary has said this publicly, so it's okay to say it. But when I first joined Gary Club in the beginning, he warned me. He was like, look, I have haters. If you want to create with me and build with me and us, like, it's not always going to be easy. And so putting on that PFP really represents me saying, like, I am going to be who I want to be. And this is who I am. I'm a giraffe now. No, no, but like I am a Web3 AI creator. And so when people come to me and they're like, what's up with this giraffe? Or, do I have to be in Gary Club and create with you? And it's like, no, you don't have to do any of these things. And just like I was talking about before, when I transitioned from that education wellness community to AI, it was a similar experience of I'm now a part of Web3 and people being like, I don't want anything to do with crypto or, Gary coin, like, what is that? And me just having to say, okay, but this is the direction I'm moving into. It's very symbolic for me of saying I'm making the decision to put 2 full feet in Web3 and AI, despite the the judgment, the fear that some people have, the, whatever can come with it. And those are the type of people that I want to attract into my own community, into Gary Club. And so it's like I have to be that and really embody that. And it's a challenge to really commit and be loyal to something and stand firm in it and not waffle. It's teaching me a level of commitment and loyalty, not just to the community, but to myself and my dreams and my vision and what I said I came here to do and build.
I like the fact that you're staying true to yourself, because I think that's another thing that we like to say, not because it's a Ziggy Marley song, got to be true to myself, but because, I feel like we lose a part of our souls when we're just chasing the audience. And what I liked about what you said is that you found general interest in this and you just invited people to come along the way with you. And I think that's the big difference that I'm seeing with the people that just completely jump ship and they're not even mentioning it. They have scrubbed their profiles clean of whatever it is. The thing that I was like, well, that's not genuine, because I know myself, I'm interested in a lot of things. We all are, right? We're not just one specific thing. Though I branded myself really as the nifty guy on X and I'm talking about NFTs all day, I can have a conversation about literally anything because I'm interested in everything. So I find it very, I guess you would say, inauthentic and disingenuous when people just completely scrub everything as if like that part of them never existed.
There was a time where it was like I had one leg in the closet and one leg out, and it doesn't work. Like it just, you got to either be all in or just all out. And it's one of the challenges of Web3, but it's what I love about it too. It's like you got to really make that commitment if you're going to do it, because you're going to get challenged. I mean, people are going to be like, what are you doing?
Absolutely. Especially
Yeah.
since the fact that you're bridging the gap between the normie audience. Like for me, I think I took the easy route, right? The way I'm building my audience is people that already see the value. So I'm not really onboarding per se. I onboard people through
Yeah.
various communities I'm in and various DAOs or whatever it might be. But through this podcast and the content that I create, it's already people that's in the door. And the difference that I'm using is instead of a DJing crowd, I'm speaking from my business background. So to me, I feel like I'm taking a much easier route. The way that you're doing it is bridging those two audiences. I have to say, like, it's bold.
Not the easy route.
And I think, though, you landed in the perfect place to do it, because I tell people all the time, I don't think there's a better platform to pivot people between Web 2 and Web 3 than Gary Club. I really don't.
I agree. I haven't seen anything close to it. And then being able to do that on X, as far as, the large social media platforms go, X seems to be the most Web3 friendly, but also obviously has an entire Web2 population. So I've realized this recently, like I've chosen without realizing it, as I normally do, the most difficult path. I think there's something subconscious in me that knows that, okay, it's going to be challenging, but the most reward. And I believe that. We had a space this morning talking about onboarding creators to Solana. And I truly believe that Solana will be the blockchain for creators to come and monetize and grow in Web3 using blockchain technology. Even just seeing what they're doing for Art Basel here in Miami, sponsoring artists and musicians and all of that. And then within that, we have Gary Club that is on Solana. And I believe that Gary Club will be like the it place to be for a Web3 creator. And because I have the background of education and teaching, I feel equipped to be that bridge. And honestly, that's what I see myself being for AI. It's what I see myself being for someone who just wants to go from a consumer to a creator. My brand is really about like, okay, these are the things that I figured out how to do, or I'm figuring out how to do. Let me show you what I've learned. And ideally, I'm meeting people that are where I was maybe like 6 months ago or a year ago or 2 years ago. And that's how I've built my community. And the people that have been with me, it's because they know, like earlier today, here's a new AI tool I'm using. It's so amazing. Come and I'll show it to you, because that's what I'm here to do, is demystify these things, that everyone needs to learn.
I like the fact how you conduct your spaces too as well. I could definitely see the teacher in you, especially in the bull market. It's like everyone wanted to show how smart they are using all these technical terms and talking about layers and just so many things that it's like the average consumer is never going to understand this. Like if we were supposed to sit here and talk about all the text of the email and the text message, like we would get nowhere. Like nobody cares.
Same thing happens in the AI spaces and rooms though too. Like I go in there and I'm like, I don't even know what these people are talking about. It's like it's so deep. And I just think if this is how I feel,
Mm-hmm.
how does someone who hasn't even like tried Chat GPT? And so what ends up happening is people don't try it. Like they just tell themselves, oh, AI is for really smart people, or, computer techie people, or Web3 is just for this type of person. And I think it's a thing in our culture or society where we feel like the bigger the words are that we use, then that implies. And I think it's the opposite.
Yep.
When you deeply understand something, you can simplify it and you can make it very, very easy to understand. Like these things don't have to be complex. Yes, they can. They obviously have their advanced levels, but this is also where the opportunity for me and everyone lies, is that if we focus on the beginners, helping the beginners, make it friendly for beginners, then we really have the biggest opportunity in this, because 99% of people are beginners. There's a small percentage of people that are advanced, but the onboarding is going to need to happen. Yeah, so that's just the position that I've always taken. I was a special education teacher, so I love being there for like the welcome committee.
If someone right now was a creator or just trying to build their own personal brand, they could be a lawyer, whatever it might be, what advice would you give them to then enter Web3 to also be able to leverage that to build their brand?
One of the reasons I love the creator monetization technology that Gary Club offers, and the Creator Coin supporter program, is that not only does it make building community off platform, so taking your audience from whatever social media platform they're on and saying, hey, here's a private space off platform where we can get to know each other better. You can meet other members of my audience in the community and you really start building. And I've had to do that in different platforms, and there's different ways to do that. But with the automation that's set up, with Gary Club, and when someone supports you, they get an invite to your private Telegram chat. It's all set up, it's all automated. So even if you don't think of the Web3 technology yet, and you just think, look, creators that want to build their brand need a place for people that want to go beyond the audience point and be in a fan, be in your community. That's necessary. That's the future. Where do you put them? So it's a really nice process for the supporter program. Then on top of that, you add the Web3 technology, which now says this gives you an opportunity that you don't have in Web 2. In Web 2, as the creators community grows, the only benefit to the community members is more community members. Okay, so you meet other people, that's cool. But in Web3, you're able to offer your community members something that you just cannot in Web 2. You can offer them ownership, you can offer them a digital asset, and the creator coin is a great beginner place for that, because it's like an entry level into crypto, understanding how it works. You buy, you hold, you sell. If you hold, the price is going to fluctuate based on the market, based on getting more support. If you sell and you decide you don't want to be a supporter anymore, you could either make some gains or not. But either way, you can actually sell back your membership, which you can't do in Web 2. And if you buy more, then you're owning more digital assets and you potentially get more access to something. So I find the creator coin technology to be really great for creators to not only build their community or VIP membership off platform, but also give their community something that is very special that only the blockchain technology allows creators to do. but does it in a very easy way that doesn't require people to have an in-depth knowledge of how the blockchain works, right? It's just like more supporters equals higher value of your digital asset. So the more I'm working, the more I'm building and growing, the more your digital asset that you own grows in value as well. So we are growing together. So it's a great way, I think, to learn how a social economy works and building a community off platform.
Awesome. And of course, anyone listening to this, they're going to think you're as awesome as everyone else that gets to speak to you. So where can they find you and get involved in what you're doing?
You can definitely find me on X. I'm all over X and I'm hosting multiple spaces a week. I have my regular Friday space at 2 p.m. Eastern, all about AI. We're doing spicy topics there. On Wednesday, I host a Gary Club community space, same time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And then I have some other spaces there. I also have my Discord server, which is OCC Metaversity. So that is my virtual learning platform. And that's where I go more in depth with teaching the more advanced knowledge of AI and how to monetize, how to be an edu creator, which is someone that's a creator that's monetizing their knowledge and ability to teach other people and guide them. And then, of course, there's the supporter program with Gary Club. If you want to support me, you can be in my private Telegram chat, and I will personally support you and onboard you into Gary Club and show you how to launch your own creator coin and start monetizing and growing as a Web3 creator.
Awesome. Absolutely. And I will put all of that information in the show notes. I highly recommend it myself. If nothing else, it is absolutely fun. You'll learn a bunch and you'll just have a great time speaking with Christel, just like I have. So I want to thank you for coming on. This was absolutely fun. It was a blast. Love to do this again.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your openness to this. And yeah, it's been great connecting with you. I look forward to more. Thank you.
So hopefully you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I thought it was just very interesting. As we saw, she pivoted from Clubhouse, and this could really happen to anybody that is using a particular platform to build their business. It does not have to be a personal brand. It could be selling products, services. It really doesn't matter. This can happen to anyone. And I just love the fact how she pivoted. She used a different technology that is now available to her in Web3 to then continue. So many other entrepreneurs or creators would have just given up. Things were going great. It got bumpy. Well, I guess it's not for me. And they would have went back to their day job or whatever it is. And again, not that that is a bad thing, but it is just cool to see that she was able to pivot and continue building on a new channel. But of course, all that information will be in the show notes. But as usual, I just want to thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Show is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.